Picture this. It is exactly midnight. You are completely alone on motorcycle,
Right. The worst place to be.
literally miles from anywhere on this totally deserted stretch of road. And suddenly, your headlight catches this lone woman standing in the dirt.
Just standing there.
Yeah, just standing there. And she's wearing this incredibly bright red sari. I mean, your brain instantly screams at you to just keep driving, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So you do. You blow right past her. You just tell yourself, well, it was nothing. But what happens when the thing you literally just drove past is suddenly standing directly in front of you?
Yeah, the vulnerability of that specific scenario is just doing an immense amount of psychological heavy lifting
Right.
before any actual horror even takes place.
Mm.
Because think about it, you are stripping away all the modern conveniences we use to feel safe.
Like the car doors.
Exactly. In a car, you have a steel cage. You have locked doors, a physical barrier separating you from the outside world. But on a motorcycle at midnight,
You're totally exposed.
you are entirely exposed to the elements, the darkness, and, well, whatever happens to be occupying it. You're just isolated in this fragile little moving bubble of light that is really struggling to cut through the pitch black.
It's terrifying. Anyway, welcome to today's deep dive. For you listening right now, we are embarking on a very specific mission today.
A really fun one, actually.
Oh, for sure. We are breaking down what I would call an absolute masterclass in microfiction. It's this 60-second horror story known as the Red Saree Hitchhiker.
A classic.
Yeah, and our goal today is to really examine how a narrative can build the suffocating tension and, establish an entire enduring urban legend using only a tiny handful of sentences.
It's crazy how short it is.
It really is.
Yeah.
So we are following this lone traveler named Rahul and this woman he encounters on a dark road.
What's so brilliant here is that the author doesn't have, 300 pages to slowly weave a creeping sense of dread.
Right, there's no slow burn.
None at all. They are forced to operate with extreme economy. They have to inject the terror directly into the reader's veins from basically the very first syllable.
Yeah.
Every single word has to trigger some kind of biological or psychological tripwire.
Okay, let's unpack this then, because I want to look really closely at that first tripwire. So Rahul is driving along, the road is dead empty, and suddenly he spots this woman.
Out of nowhere.
Right. And the imagery the author uses is incredibly stark. She's wearing this vibrant red sari, and her face is completely obscured by her long, hanging hair.
Such a creepy detail.
Seriously. I mean, seeing a bright red dress on a pitch-black, totally deserted road at midnight, that's a massive visual anomaly.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically a flashing neon warning sign. And Rahul tragically chooses to drive right past her. Like, he just ignores her.
Just pretend she's not there?
Exactly. I found myself just screaming at him while reading this, but I couldn't figure out his motivation. Like, is his decision to ignore her supposed to be a sign of bravery?
Like he's toughing it out.
Yeah, like he's refusing to be intimidated. Or, I don't know, is his brain simply short-circuiting? Because it literally cannot process what it's looking at.
I definitely wouldn't call it bravery. What we're looking at here is a textbook collision of the freeze and flight response, layered with, intense normalcy bias.
Normalcy bias.
Yeah. Basically, when the human brain encounters a scenario that radically breaks its expectation of reality.
Like a woman in a red sari in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly. A solitary woman in a vibrant red dress standing in the absolute middle of nowhere in the dead of night. The brain just really struggles to categorize that data.
It doesn't compute.
Right. Normalcy bias is this cognitive mechanism where people consistently underestimate both the likelihood of a disaster and its potential impact.
Just because it's so weird?
Simply because it falls so far outside their normal everyday experience.
Oh, that makes sense. It's kind of like when a fire alarm goes off in a busy office building and half the people just sit there at their desks typing. Because their brain is insisting, like, we don't have fires on a Tuesday.
That is a perfect analogy. The brain aggressively attempts to force this anomalous, scary event into a familiar, non-threatening box.
Wow.
So Rahul's instinct to ignore her, that's just the psychological equivalent of a child pulling the blankets over their head.
Oh, wow. If I can't see the monster, it's not real.
Precisely. If he doesn't acknowledge the monster cannot exist in his reality.
Yeah.
Furthermore, the author is actually weaponizing biology here by choosing the color red.
Really? How so?
Well, in nature, we have this thing called aposematism.
Aposematism, okay.
Yeah, it's the use of bright colors to signal toxicity or danger to predators. Things like poison dart frogs
Or venomous snakes, right?
Exactly. Red is the universal biological color for alarm, for blood, for stop.
It just screams danger.
It does. Against the Dark Knight, it is hypervisible, and it immediately puts Rahul's amygdala on high alert, even if his conscious brain is trying to ignore it.
That is fascinating. But, you know, the real kicker for me isn't even the dress. It's the fact that the text explicitly notes her face is covered by her long hair.
Ah.
As a reader, that specific detail unsettled me deeply. I mean, why does hiding her features feel so much more threatening than if she were just, I don't know, glaring at him with a scary expression?
Well, human beings are biologically hardwired to seek out faces.
Really?
Oh, yeah. From the very moment we are born, our brains are just desperate to find eyes and expressions to gauge intent.
Like trying to figure out what the other person is thinking.
Exactly. We rely on those facial cues to answer our most primal questions. Is this person a friend or a foe?
Are they sad, angry, or, you know, hunting?
Right. So when you obscure the face entirely, you block the brain's ability to run that critical threat assessment.
Yeah.
You strip away the very possibility of empathy.
So she basically ceases to be a human woman who might just be stranded and need a tow truck.
Yes.
She instantly transforms into this blank canvas.
A blank canvas for the darkest corners of your imagination.
Oh, I hate that.
It's true, though. What we cannot see is always infinitely scarier than what we can, simply because the brain abhors a vacuum.
It has to fill in the blanks.
It will immediately rush to fill that blank, obscured face with the absolute worst possible scenario.
Right.
So by hiding her face, the story is actually forcing you, the reader, and Rahul to project your own deepest fears onto her.
That is so deeply unsettling. But as anyone who has ever relied on normalcy bias knows, simply ignoring a massive problem doesn't actually make it vanish.
Definitely not.
The story rapidly shifts gears here. It moves from this passive, kind of eerie sighting.
The kind of weird anecdote you might just tell your coworkers the next day.
Exactly. It shifts from that into an active, entirely impossible threat because just seconds after leaving this woman in the dust behind him, Rahul looks ahead.
And there she is.
The exact same woman in the red sari is suddenly standing directly in his path.
Yeah, that is the clear transition from the mundane to the overtly supernatural.
And the geography of it is just paralyzing. The text mentions Rahul is shocked, like he's trying to comprehend how this is even physically possible.
Because it's not.
Right, but before he can even brake, she is right in front of his bike, and she speaks.
This is the best part.
It is so messed up. Because she doesn't scream, she doesn't hiss, she just asks him softly, "Will you drop me home?"
So creepy.
I have to be honest, here's where it gets really interesting for me. The weirdest part of the entire narrative is her dialogue. I just can't figure out why that polite, quiet request is so much more paralyzing.
But a scream.
Yeah, like if a monster jumped on the hood of my car and roared with a mouthful of fangs, I'd be terrified. But this soft question messed with my head way more. Why is that?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, to understand why that destroys the reader's comfort zone, we have to look at how horror relies heavily on the violation of established rules.
Okay, what kind of rules?
Physical laws, mostly. When she appears ahead of him, after he has already passed her, the primary terror stems from the complete collapse of physical reality. Time and space have basically folded.
He's caught in a loop.
Exactly. This spatial loop removes Rahul's agency entirely.
Yeah.
He believed he was moving forward, right? Creating distance, executing a successful escape.
But he wasn't.
No, instead, he discovers he is just a mouse on a wheel. The environment itself has become the trap.
Like he's gunning the engine, burning fuel, but the maze is just endlessly generating new walls in front of him.
That's exactly it. But then she speaks. And the screaming monster, as you mentioned, is a known quantity. It presents a very overt physical threat.
You sort of know what to do with a monster.
Right. You know the rules of engagement. You either fight the monster or you run away from it as fast as you can.
Okay.
But by framing a supernatural, reality-bending entity with an incredibly intimate, polite request, the author is weaponizing our everyday social contracts.
Oh, wow. It feels like she's forcing an everyday social script onto an actual nightmare. Like, it's like a burglar breaking into your house at 3 a.m., and instead of attacking you, they just quietly ask if you have any chamomile tea.
That is a brilliant way to put it. It completely shatters your understanding of how a victim and a threat are supposed to interact with one another.
Because will you drop me home is a question that culturally we feel obligated to answer.
It demands a response.
Yeah.
It forces compliance. It yanks Rahul out of his internal panic and basically demands that he participate in her reality.
That is so manipulative.
It is. And furthermore, the softness of the voice is a devastating display of absolute power.
Because she doesn't have to try.
Exactly. She doesn't need to shout to get his attention. She isn't exerting physical effort to stop his bike. The softness implies that the chase is already over.
She's already won.
The trap has sprung, and she's in utter, uncontested control of this situation.
Wow. She whispers because she knows he has absolutely no choice but to listen to her. But confronted with this reality-breaking trap, with this soft-spoken entity blocking his path, Rahul's flight response finally overrides everything else.
He just books it.
Yeah, he doesn't politely answer her back. He doesn't even hit the brakes. He just accelerates and speeds away into the dark.
I mean, it is the only rational biological response remaining. Once rationality has entirely abandoned the landscape, the brain just demands distance from the predator.
So he is flying down this deserted road, just desperate to get away. The tension in the text is winding tighter and tighter, and eventually he just has to know.
He has to look.
Right. So he checks behind him. He looks at the back seat of his bike, sees that it's completely empty, and he breathes this massive sigh of relief.
The false relief.
Exactly. He thinks he won. He thinks the nightmare is finally over. I always compare this specific narrative beat to being on a massive roller coaster.
Oh, I love that analogy.
You know, you get pulled up that huge, steep hill.
Yeah.
The chain is going click, click, click. The tension is building in your chest. And then you finally reach the peak.
You crest the hill, the mechanical clicking stops, and for just a fraction of a second, the car just rests at the top.
Yes. You feel this weird, weightless pause. Your brain registers the lack of upward movement and goes, oh, we stopped. But it's a totally false relief.
Because the drop is coming.
Because that momentary pause only exists to make the sheer terror of the 100-foot drop hit your nervous system twice as hard.
Absolutely.
That sigh of relief Rahul breathes when he sees the empty back seat is the exact same thing as the pause at the top of the roller coaster.
Physiologically, what actually happens during false relief is really fascinating.
Oh, do tell.
Well, when you are terrified, your sympathetic nervous system is flooded with adrenaline. You are in full fight or flight mode.
Right.
When Rahul sees the empty seat, his brain signals that the danger has officially passed. So the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in to bring the heart rate down and relax all the muscles.
He lets his guard down.
The guard completely drops. So delivering a scare during that exact window of physiological rebound is devastating.
Because he's not ready.
Right, the victim's nervous system is completely unarmored at that precise second.
And man, the story delivers the drop masterfully. Because just as he breathes that sigh of relief, this cold voice whispers directly into his ear.
Right by his ear.
Why are you looking back? I am sitting right here. The pacing of the text here is just agonizing. It explicitly states that Rahul slowly turns his head.
He knows.
He already knows. His body registers the proximity before his cognitive brain can even process the words. He slowly turns to find the red sari woman smiling on the back seat.
Notice how the author brilliantly executes a complete sensory shift here to escalate the horror.
What do you mean by sensory shift?
Well, up until this specific climax, the terror has been entirely visual and spatial.
Okay, yeah.
It was the stark red sari against the black night. It was the obscured face. It was her appearing ahead of him in the headlights. The horror was kept at a distance, out there in the dark.
Rahul was relying completely on his eyes to confirm whether or not he was safe.
Exactly. But the narrative violently pivots to tactile and auditory horror. It's no longer something he's looking at down the road.
It's a cold voice.
Yes. The text forces you to physically feel the temperature drop, and it is right next to his ear. Bypassing the visual field entirely to invade his immediate physical space is a massive, massive violation.
The auditory horror is literally breathing on his neck.
Right.
He tried to put physical distance between them by speeding away, but she just skipped his visual radar entirely. She bypassed every physical boundary he had left.
And then visual horror returns for the final, fatal blow.
The smile.
Yes. He slowly turns his head, and she is smiling. We discussed earlier how her hidden face represented the terrifying unknown, right?
Yeah, projecting our worst fears.
Well, the revelation of her smiling face serves as the ultimate punctuation mark of doom. In primate biology, baring teeth can sometimes be a sign of submission or fear.
But not this time.
No. A genuine smile in the context of a hunt is a clear indicator of predatory dominance. It basically tells the prey, I have caught you, and I am really enjoying this.
Oh, that is so dark.
It reveals that she was in complete control the entire time, his desperate escape attempt. That was merely an illusion she allowed him to experience for her own amusement.
Oh, man. She let him think he was getting away just so she could savor the exact moment he realized he was totally doomed.
Exactly.
The smile is the dropping of the mask, the game is just over. But I mean, if she's just playing with him and she's in total control, what actually happens to him when the game ends?
We don't know.
Right? Because the story doesn't tell us, it just cuts away.
That abrupt transition is actually what elevates this from a simple, ghost story to a lingering trauma. We move instantly from Rahul's intensely personal nightmare to the cold light of the next morning.
So what does this all mean? The sun is up, the midnight darkness is gone, but the text tells us that only Rahul's empty motorcycle is found lying on the road.
Just the bike.
There is no sign of Rahul. Just the machine he thought would carry him to safety, completely abandoned in the dirt.
Yeah.
And then the narrative concludes with this chilling footnote, basically stating that even today, after midnight, the Red Saree Hitchhiker is seen asking for a lift on that exact same road.
It's so eerie.
But I want to ask you, I find the image of that empty bike sitting silently in the morning sun far more horrifying than if the author had written, like, a gory, graphic description of what she did to him.
It's much worse.
Why is that? Why does the mind recoil more at an empty vehicle than a mangled body?
This raises an important question, and it really comes down to a psychological concept known as the Zeigarnik effect.
The Zeigarnik effect.
Yes. Basically, the human brain remembers uncompleted or interrupted tasks significantly better than completed ones. It desperately craves resolution and closure.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
When you see a body or read a detailed description of a demise, the narrative loop is completely closed. It's tragic, and it is gruesome, sure, but there is a finality to it.
Right. You know how it ended.
The brain can just file it away as a completed event. Death occurred. Story over.
But an empty bike provides zero closure. It is an open loop.
Precisely. The brain absolutely cannot tolerate an open loop, especially when danger's involved. Because where is Rahul? Is he dead?
Is he trapped in some kind of shadow dimension?
Did she consume his soul?
Yeah.
Because the text point blank refuses to provide the evidence, the reader's imagination is forced to constantly chew on the mystery.
Projecting worst-case scenarios again.
Yes, projecting their own highly personalized worst-case scenarios into that empty space.
Wow. We want to see the damage just so we know the boundaries of the threat we're dealing with. And the empty bike gives us no boundaries.
None.
It just leaves us staring into the void.
And by leaving his fate ambiguous, the story seamlessly transitions from a personal tragedy to an enduring myth.
An urban legend.
Exactly. The empty motorcycle serves as the physical, lingering proof that anchors the supernatural horror to our shared reality. It becomes the anchor point.
It grounds the ghost story in the dirt. Like, people driving by in the daylight can point to the shoulder of the road and say, oh, that's exactly where they found Rahul's bike.
It transitions perfectly into a cautionary tale.
Mm-hmm.
But the true underlying horror of that final line.
The part about her still being there.
Yes, the statement that she is still seen out there today asking for a lift. That is the realization of the endless cycle. The trap didn't close when it caught Rahul.
The track simply reset itself.
The geography of that road is permanently tainted. Every single person who travels that route alone at midnight now faces the exact same impossible test that Rahul failed.
It's a never-ending loop of terror. Rahul wasn't a special target. He was just one iteration of a brutal process that's going to continue forever.
Yeah.
Man, for a 60-second read, the amount of psychological manipulation this microfiction achieves is just staggering.
It strips away all the unnecessary padding of traditional exposition and just leaves the raw nerves of human fear.
It really does.
It proves that you don't need chapters of world building to create a visceral, lingering reaction. You just need to know exactly which biological and cognitive buttons to push and in what sequence.
So true. I mean, it uses stark color contrasts to trigger our deep-seated biological danger sensors.
Right.
It employs impossible spatial loops to break our understanding of reality and completely remove a protagonist's agency.
A mouse in the maze.
Yeah. It perfectly executes a sensory shift, jumping from a distant visual anomaly to the intimate, tactile horror of a cold whisper.
So good.
And it weaponizes the parasympathetic nervous system through false relief, giving us a split second of hope with an empty back seat, just to make the final reveal utterly devastating. It is basically a surgical strike on the reader's comfort zone.
And then it uses the Zeigarnik effect to ensure you never forget it, leaving that open loop of the empty motorcycle to haunt your thoughts.
It really is brilliant. But As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a lingering thought.
Oh, I'm ready.
A little something for you to mull over the next time you find yourself driving down a dark, deserted road at night, relying on your headlights to cut through the unknown.
Always a scary thought.
Right. It's drawn directly from the implications of that final line. The story states that even today, the Red Saree Hitchhiker is still out on that road after midnight, asking for a lift.
Yeah, waiting for the next victim.
But think about her request. Will you drop me home?
Okay.
If she is still out there, night after night, year after year, flawlessly repeating this exact same predatory scenario, does that mean every single person who stops meets the exact same horrifying, unseen fate as Rahul?
I mean, you'd assume so.
Or
Mm-hmm.
is it possible that she is the one who is truly trapped in an endless loop?
Oh, wow.
Forever hitchhiking, forever searching for a home she can never actually reach, and violently dragging anyone who crosses her path into her own inescapable purgatory.
That is a terrifying perspective.
We like to think of our reality as a perfectly tuned system, where every action has a logical reaction, where we are always moving forward. But sometimes you look closely at the darkness and you realize the road you are traveling doesn't go forward at all. It just loops endlessly back into the